have signed on to this. You see here, Raider fan, which is probably a bot, says adrenochrome and then a bunch of pizzas in the reply. So like seriously, like this is what they still continue. They create this like straw man, and then they shoot down the straw man about it. Whenever they talk about Pizzagate, they always do that. They always bring up like the straw man argument about the pizza parlor basement, which obviously doesn't exist because obviously Comet didn't have a basement. But Buck's Fishing and Camping did, which was right next door and was owned by Alephantis, right? But you see how they do this? They just set up these straw mans and shoot them down. But it's funny to me that they're still mad about Pizzagate when it was 100% true. Everything we said about it was true. They've never debunked anything we ever said about it, which is we want a proper investigation, which is exactly what we never got. Anyways, now let's move on to a little bit of cryptocurrency news before we end the show for the night, and then I'll be back on here in a couple days probably. So here we go. They want it all. We give them nothing. So there's a lot of talk about cross-border payments lately. And that's like one of the things that's driving the central banks to create digital currencies. And what they want is to be able to see everything that you have and everything, you know, to be under their control. Okay? And it's just ridiculous. So that's why Pirate Chain is the perfect answer to their nonsense. Privacy coins, especially Pirate Chain, which is undergoing a audit right now that they paid for to be done, so that like another group will go in and audit the code. And then if that passes, that's huge news for the Pirate Chain. And also they're introducing this new thing called Halo, which they were talking about in the recent meeting, and that's going to increase the privacy even more. And the great thing about blockchain things like Pirate Chain is the people who work on like privacy coins, they don't work on it to make money. They work on it because of the values that it represents. Like they believe in privacy, so they're working on a privacy coin to help people have financial privacy in the future, and they're not doing it just for money. Like it's about their values and stuff like that. So I think that's great. That's why I promote Pirate Chain as much as I do, as like a great long-term project to get into, because I think the people involved in it are really intelligent, and I think they're making, you know, a great coin that's based on principles, not on just making money. You know, it's everything Bitcoin should have been that it isn't, because Bitcoin can be tracked and surveilled. If they know your wallet, they can look at all of your transactions. They can't do that with Pirate Chain. So here's the head of the central bank of central banks, says central banks will have total control of how you spend your money. So I don't know if you got that. The head of the central bank of central banks says central banks will have control of how you spend everything.
Our analysis on CBDC, in particular for the use of the general use, we tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also we will have the technology to enforce that. Those two issues are extremely important, and that makes a huge difference with respect to what cash is. All our analysis on CBDC in particular.
So you can basically see what he's saying is they want to control everything. If you realize like how absolutely effed up that is, you'll understand why we need financial privacy in the future. And if they ban cash, which they've done, and they go to all digital payments, what are you going to do? How are you going to protect yourselves from these like central bankers that want everything? They want control of everything. So you're going to have like systems outside of their control. That's where things like Pirate Chain and stuff like Monero and WowNero all come into play, right? But I think Pirate Chain is the best of them, so that's the one I like. And once again, in this cryptocurrency segment, nothing that I'm talking about here is financial advice. Okay, so I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing I'm talking about is financial advice. Okay, so this entire section on cryptocurrency is just education. Okay, I'm just a pirate with a broken wing, or not wing, I guess, broken core. So I don't know what I'm talking about in terms of finance stuff. Okay, you have to talk to a financial person about that. But one person back in the day did talk about, what he talked about with the Rockefellers. So let's just listen.
After maintaining a close friendship with Nicholas, Aaron eventually ended the relationship, appalled by what he had learned.
I got a call one day from an attorney woman I knew, and she said, would you like to meet one of the Rockefellers? I said, sure, I'd love to. And we became friends, and he began to divulge a lot of things to me. So he said to me one night, he said that there's going to be an event there, and out of that event, you're going to see we're going to go into Afghanistan. So we run pipelines from the Caspian Sea. We're going to go into Iraq to take the oil and establish a base in the Middle East, and we're going to go into Venezuela and then try and get rid of Chavez. And the first two they've accomplished. Chavez they didn't accomplish. And so you're going to see guys going into caves looking for looking for people that they're never going to find. He was laughing at the fact that you have this war on terror. There's no real enemy. He's talking about how by having this war on terror, you can never win it because it's an eternal war. And so you can always keep taking people's liberties away. And I said, how do you convince people that this war is real? He says, but the media. The media can convince everybody it's real. I mean, it's just that you keep talking about things. You keep saying it over and over and over again, and eventually people believe it. You created the Federal Reserve in 1913 through lies. You create 9/11, which is another lie. Through 9/11, then you're fighting a war on terror, and now all of a sudden you go into Iraq, which was another lie, and now they're going to do Iran. And so one thing leading to another, leading to another, leading to another. Now, I would say, what are you doing this for? What's the point of this thing? You have all the money in the world, you have a want, you have all the power. I said, you're hurting people. It's not a good thing. And he would say, what do you care about the people for? Take care of yourself and take care of your family. And then I said, so what are the ultimate goals here? He said, the ultimate goal is to get everybody in this world chipped with the RFID chip and have all money be on those chips and everything on those chips. And if anybody wants to protest what we do or violate what we want, we just turn off the chip.
Yep, and that's what they want. I said, but it won't be a chip. It'll be graphene, as we talked about earlier, graphene tattoos, basically. There was a good video here on the Fed stablecoin conspiracy by the Coin Bureau that I didn't realize he made a while back, but it's definitely a good video on it. And he basically talks about in this, you can go watch it for yourselves, basically about how there's a good likelihood that US dollar coin, USDC, which has been, as I've shown you guys recently, Algorand has been working with them a lot, and XLM Stellar has worked with them a lot in the past, that US dollar coin might be the secretive Fed Reserve central bank coin that's already kind of in existence through this thing called Circle, which has received all types of money and has all types of connections to the banksters. So the US dollar coin might kind of already be like their secretive coin that is the US dollar coin, right? And the reason that they say that is because the Circle company is required to have $1 US in liquidity for every US dollar coin that they create. So it's a stable coin based on demand from actual Federal Reserve notes already. It's just not done by the government yet. So it's kind of like a test program, in my opinion. And it's already running on Coinbase and all these things. And when you look into the Algorand and their work in Miami, the city of Miami, it was to bring the US dollar coin to be able to be used in Miami. So I really do think that when you're looking at the future of where this is going, what they're going to do, and we talked about this based on this recently, which is this Randall K. Quarles Parachute Pants and Central Bank Money speech by the Vice Chair for the Supervision Board of the Governors of the Federal Reserve System. That's who this guy is. Okay? Speech by Randall K. Quarles, Vice Chair for Supervision of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. This guy wrote this huge thing on CBDC and basically said that, like, we already have digital dollars that we issue to private banks and stuff like that. All we need to do is say that we have a digital dollar that we're going to allow private blockchains to issue, and if they let us regulate those blockchains, then we'll work with those blockchains. And there's blockchains that want to do this already. Like the Algorand Foundation has come out and been like, yeah, we want to make your central bank coin, just use us. XLM Stellar, who has all of these connections to the banksters and stuff, the people that run that, they've also been doing this. So, like, I think that's where it's going. That's what's going to happen. And the people that own the blockchains that they choose to actually really create these CBDCs, when they do this for real, like when they really go about doing this and implementing this, then it's going to be, you're going to be just, you know, watching huge profits for those blockchain networks that enable these transactions. So, and this guy Coin Bureau goes through this, you know, he pretty much agrees with me. He thinks Stellar, but this was before Algorand, so this was months ago. Now, lately Algorand has been working more with them than Stellar has. But I think both are in play. Because as they said in this guy's thing, they don't work with one bank. They work with multiple banks. So they're going to work with multiple blockchains to do the CBDC thing. It's not going to just be one. It's not going to just be XRP. It's going to be like XRP, Algorand, Cello, Stellar, like a basket of these things, like I've been saying. And it'll be the ones that allow the central banks to regulate them and to see all of your, like, transactions. Whichever ones are willing to do that, willing to create the horror coins, those are the ones that are to make huge money. And you see this article here, CBDC, and you can see government programmable utility. The China, and this is by Taskmaster 4450 on Hive in the Leo Finance community. So there's like a great community of people on Hive in the Leo Finance community that put out all types of great stuff about cryptocurrencies. One of them is Taskmaster. He's talking about the Chinese are leading the way for this because they have the digital yuan, of course. Cryptocurrency is taking the world by storm. We're seeing more news about it. This gave the government hacks the idea it'd be good for them to get into the game, as I've been talking about. After all, it would allow all the unbanked to be banked, as they keep talking about. They want to get all those people that aren't in the banking system into the banking system. More efficient distribution of money and a less expensive system to operate. There is a problem with what the governments are looking at implementing. We see a world of cryptocurrency filled with the terms decentralized, open source, immutable, transparent. Unfortunately, few of any of these will apply to the CBDCs. Instead, we can pull out the autonyms, which would better reflect what is being proposed. Programmable money. One of the technological breakthroughs with crypto is that it's programmable. This opens up a world of possibilities where the use cases could be isolated. Tokens be created for specific purposes, perhaps specific time periods. For example, a company might develop a token during a particular promotional event. After that, it expires, much in the same way a coupon does. In the hands of government, politicians, and bureaucrats, this is a different matter entirely. We can see how programmable money is going to be used against different populations. Whereas cryptocurrency offers decentralized control, this is putting more powers in the hands of governments around the world. Fuck. If anyone thinks this is a good idea, let your mind wander as you read the next section. So I'll let you guys read this, but the free CNY will arrive pre-programmed utility for covering fees from subway, bus tickets, or shared bike services. So you can see that the Chinese are doing this. Politicized money, you know, what will happen with that? Will they politicize you being able to access your account? All right, we can see this easy in raising, collecting taxes. After all, this can be programmed into the money. Nothing will be overlooked. In fact, they could collect taxes each time money went into the account. Of course, they could determine if the money was not spent in a certain period of time, it would certainly just simply expire. And that's what I've been warning about. It's one of the things I've been warning about. Now we can see expiring programmable money controlled by central banks. They have none of the things that we want. None of these four things that we want are on the horizon. And if you tie that in with the graphene thing that we were talking about earlier with the tattoos and, you know, the brain technology and everything tied in with those, then it's a very bleak future that we're looking at technologically speaking. And with all this at the same time, thankfully I think I need, what time is it? I need some more Advil or something. This is the last article anyways. We can look back through history and see the ages change from one to another. In hindsight, we see the shift from agriculture to industry. At the same time, we can also see when the information age formed. It is not, however, easy to see the transition taking place. So we often miss it in the day-to-day struggle, but it's slowly happening. The net is increasing. You know, the World Wide Web is ever expanding, and everything is becoming digitized. And as that happens, they're going to tie it in with all of these things like government-controlled CBDCs and graphene things that are tied into your vaccine passport and all this other nonsense. So you can see a lot of people have made money off of this. As we've entered into the internet era, the people that put money into these big companies made big money off of that. And that's where we're going to be going with, you know, you'll be looking at the cryptocurrency market much like you're looking at these companies now. Like the companies that build the cryptocurrency network that they're going to use in the future will be the new Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, and Googles of the world. So just keep that in mind. And that's why, like, obviously, I do think investing in stuff like Algorand, Cello, and XRP, and all of those, it's like this double-edged sword where you're investing in stuff that you know will make you a lot of money, most likely. I mean, in my opinion, I'm not a financial advisor. But I think if you did invest in those, you know, you bought like, I mean, say you buy 1,000 shares of Algorand for, what are they at, 80 cents right now? And you get, I don't know how many coins you get, like 1,200 coins or something. So you have 12, like, say you end up with 1,000 Algorand coins, and they end up going to $1,000 or $2,000 a coin because they become the new version of this when they put CBDCs on it. You'll be just looking at massive wealth increase. That's like unbelievable. But the problem with that is like you've made money off the creation of the Mark of the Beast system. So like, how do you feel about that? Like, do you like justify that by being like, well, as soon as I make money off of it, because it's coming anyways, I'll use that to fight back against the system? Does that make it okay to make money that way by making money off the creation of the system? I don't know. It's one of those moral dilemmas that you have to ask yourself. And I think, you know, it's good to invest in both sides because then you can take the money you make from investing in stuff like Algorand, if it does go absolutely parabolic, and transfer that into stuff like Pirate Chain to help, you know, build the solution to these problems. But also, I think you need to help support stuff like Pirate Chain and HODL, and invest in the currency so that